The Kliq owns this business.
Coming down the aisle, Bimbo, Jimbo, Baby Huey.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop. Give me a hell yeah.
Today, I've got the style and profile like never before. It's showtime! Woo!
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of In The Kliq. I'm Baby Huey and my tag team partner this week to talk everything AEW related. We got Philip from the Bulletcast. What's up, Philip?
Huey, I'm not doing so good, man. You won the Bulletcast championship. Yeah, man. 175 days as the champion of digital media audio. I was on a run, man. I was doing something, you know. I was looking to hit San Martino territory. I was looking for 8 years. I really was. But other than that, I'm okay, man. I'm ready to talk some AEW as I am the All Elite Wrestling correspondent for In The Kliq.
Yes.
I put it in my Instagram bio, so it's official.
I know. I saw that. I got the notification. So thank you.
Oh, really? That happens?
Yeah. And so when you tag me or you tag In The Kliq, I get the notification. So I saw that. So I feel so honored. Thank you for putting it out there like that. That's very cool.
Absolutely, man. This new era in the evolution of the microphone messiah.
Yes. Well, see, now it just shows you're a man of many talents. Your influence is now spreading onto multiple platforms and wrestling shows out there. So a lot of props to you, man. And that's something I want to remind all of our Kliqsters out there. Make sure to follow Philip on everything he does. He's a busy guy. He puts himself out there. So that's very cool that you're doing all this. And I can't thank you enough for your help every week now to talk everything AEW related. And, yeah, first things first. Yes, I'm glad you brought it up about the Bulletcast title. I thank you for, acknowledging, my win, I guess, after Extreme Rules this past Sunday. That's where we did our predictions for the pay-per-view this past Sunday. And so, how many did I get right? I forgot. I don't know if you have the score or the tally of, from the picks this past weekend.
So you and Brandon tied, and I flipped a coin.
What?
Yes. I said heads Huey, tails Brandon. Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's how it happened, man.
So, I mean, can I ask, like, do I get to actually hold the title now? Like, what do I do with it? Like,
we need a picture with you of the championship.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would love to.
Yeah,
please.
man, whenever you're free, make your way over here, and we'll have a little photo shoot.
Dude, I actually, to be honest, I drove by your place last weekend. Like, my dad wanted to go to Sonic in Hayward or Fremont, so I don't want to give specific, you don't want no crazy stalkers following you or anything, but that part of Hayward you live in, we took that route to get down there, and I told my dad, hey, Philip lives over here, so yeah, so maybe that's what I'll do. I'll come by, maybe we'll get some Sonic, and then we'll do a photo shoot with the belt. We'll do that.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely.
All right, we'll plan for a Sonic date, a Sonic / Bulletcast championship photo shoot date or something like that.
Absolutely. Bring Tommy. It'll be a whole thing.
Absolutely. No, that'd be great. So, yeah, so here we are once again. It's another week in pro wrestling. So much going on TV this week. And as Philip just mentioned, we're going to talk AEW this week, All Elite Wrestling. And I don't know about you, Philip, but I was feeling a little bit like withdrawals as far as for the last 3 weeks, we're so used to like these almost over the top pay-per-view level status of AEW between the 2 weeks, Fyter Fest, and then last week, Fight for the Fallen. So it was like these amplified, superfied, supersized. There you go. I was trying to think of a fast food reference. Supersized episodes of AEW Dynamite. Like I said, these pay-per-view level matches and bookings, and then here we are this week. It was just back to a regular episode of AEW Dynamite. So I was like, man, I'm so used to like all these big over the top episodes from the last few weeks on regular TV. So here we are back to a regular episode. But I don't know about you, man. I was blown away. Like for this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, I thought it was an action-packed episode, and we'll go through, break down all the segments and whatnot. But just want to get your quick thoughts on what you thought overall of this week's episode.
Well, yeah, after the 2 weeks of Fyter Fest and last week Fight for the Fallen, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be toned down. But they started off hot. They started off very hot with the opening bout for the TNT title. I don't know if you know this, but it's the championship of America's greatest network. Yeah, so they started off pretty hot with that, and then everything else that transpired over the night, it flowed pretty well. It really kept the energy up, except for the I wasn't too fond of the women's match that did happen.
Okay.
I thought it kind of brought it down just a tad bit, but the main event made up for it in the return that we saw.
Yeah,
kind of made up for everything. So yeah, man, I thought all in all this was a pretty solid episode of AEW Dynamite.
I like that. We should make that a drum. Dynamite.
Like I'm JJ from Good Times.
Absolutely, dude. I'm impressed. You know that reference.
I may be young, like I'm not old enough to rent a car, but I have an old soul.
I like that. Hey man, props to you on that. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. AEW Dynamite, the show kicked off. First off, it was great seeing Tony Schiavone back in the broadcast booth, because last week he wasn't on because the reports, I guess his test results for the coronavirus, if he had it or not, wasn't in yet. It was like, I guess, late. So just to be safe, they kept him off TV. Instead, who was it? It was Taz, for like the first half, and then Jericho in the second half. So it for an audible, very cool last week as far as getting Taz and Chris Jericho to fill in as the third voice throughout last week's episode of AEW Dynamite. But nonetheless, very cool. And I thought it was very cool to kick off the show. So Cody Rhodes was already in the ring, but normally Jim Ross is like the first voice you hear to start off the episode. But this week, Tony Schiavone was the first voice. I was like, there it is. That familiar voice that, I mean, listen, I know Jim Ross, the voice of the Attitude Era, Monday Night Raw for so many years for WWE, but like I have a special place in my heart for Tony Schiavone, just for so many years growing up watching Nitro and WCW. So to hear his voice still to this day gives me goosebumps, especially on TNT. So it was just very cool to hear him back this week and just hear him talking. And it was just interesting. Cody was in the ring already, and I was a little bit of a bum because I love Cody Rhodes' theme song. And so I love it every time he comes to the ring, makes a big entrance. So I don't know about you, Phil, but I was a little bummed not to see him, do his big old grand entrance. But, I guess it is what it is.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder, Huey.
Okay, good point. So, yeah, it's good to miss it, and then that way when he does do it again, makes you appreciate that much more. So, but yeah, first match out of the gates was another open challenge for the TNT Championship. And before we get into who came out this week, which was a big surprise, and I saw online, a lot of people were very happy. So on a quick side note, not to go off sidetrack, but the TNT Championship officially premiered or debuted. Its big reveal was at Double or Nothing back end of May. And a lot of people were crapping on it, the design, all that stuff. And AEW quickly responded because of the pandemic. The title wasn't completely finished. It's an unfinished product. Once the pandemic hopefully lightens up, they can finish the title or finish the design of it, make it a little bit better. I'm starting to wonder how true that is, because this past weekend was Slammiversary. Impact Wrestling had the big Slammiversary pay-per-view. And I heard, and Philip, you watched it as well, and you saw Moose. He came out with the TNA Championship, World Championship. He had the nice white strap of the old TNA Championship. And apparently, I heard online, I forgot what it was. I forgot which wrestling website I saw it on. Apparently, that championship was made last minute in Pakistan. So, and I think you and I talked about off the air that we know people who have championship title belts made in Pakistan, right? We don't have to get like too specific, but yeah, we've heard that. We know people that get their championship title belts made in Pakistan. So I was thinking, like, okay, if Impact Wrestling can get a mock-up of the TNA World Championship in Pakistan and sent to them for Slammiversary, why could AEW, like, there should be someone out there who's available to maybe fix up that TNT Championship title, the design of it.
Well, for one, the TNT title's starting to grow on me. I'm not going to lie. It's reminiscent of the Bullet Cast title, a black and red strap, silver, black, you know. With the TNA title, though, I mean, you just unscrew the plates and put it on a white strap. That's really all you're doing.
Okay.
You know?
That's true. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know who makes the AEW titles. I know Dave Milliken, he's been making championships for years.
Yeah.
He made the AEW world title.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he did the same for the TNT title, or maybe somebody else did. But you know, plating has to go into it and all that other stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm not sure, or maybe they're just going to keep it like that. I don't know.
It was just an observation I noticed from this weekend between watching Slammiversary, seeing that the white strap version of the TNA championship, and then I heard that apparently it was made in Pakistan, and I'm thinking, okay, if there's people in other parts of the world available to make championship titles, why can't AEW follow up on their announcement from May that this is the unfinished product of the TNT title, but they still want to, it's an unfinished thing. Once the pandemic lightens up, they can fix it. Well, apparently people are working in other parts of the world during this pandemic. So I don't know. It's just an observation. It's like, I wonder if they could still fix it up at some point. What's the timetable of them fixing up that championship?
Well, the reason why people are working in other parts of the world is because they follow protocol.
Amen to that.
That's why there are like 20,000 people in arenas in Japan watching wrestling.
I know.
Wear your mask. Don't make me say it. I'll say it.
Say it, man. Remind them.
Wear your mask, wash your hands, wash your ass.
It's that simple, man.
It's just that simple.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's not to get too political or anything. I just don't know why people are making wearing a mask it's a political issue or not. It's just, I don't know. I can go off on it, but yeah, wear a mask in public helps stop the spread, and let's just get back to our normal lives. It's that simple. Anyway, like I said, I'm not going to go into a big political rant or anything like that. We could save that for another time. We're here to talk wrestling. But so yeah, the match, Cody comes out, and once again, he's waiting for his opponent. And as he's like, I was about to start talking, all of a sudden we hear a voice on a microphone coming down the ramp. And sure enough, it's Eddie Kingston. And I popped. And I'll be honest, I was watching it live. I started yelling for my brother, Tommy. I was like, Tommy, come here. And for anyone who doesn't know, my brother's a huge fan of NWA Power. And Eddie Kingston has been a fixture on the current NWA roster with the relaunch or the reboot of the NWA, specifically their NWA Power show that they launched end of last year. And so I was super shocked to see another member of the NWA now appearing in AEW. And so, Philip, just your thoughts right out of the gates of seeing Eddie Kingston appearing in AEW.
It was cool, man. I mean, the guy was he was with LAX. I have some thoughts on that once we get to the Inner Circle match.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it was cool. I mean, the guy's been in NWA since really its inception, since they launched was like October.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I mean, the guy, he can talk. He's one of the smoothest on the mic, and his promo was very good. You know, talks about how Cody surrounds himself with former greats like Arn Anderson, and talks about how he sucks eggs. That's a reference to, you know, Dusty sucks eggs from the Terry Funk era, and I guess you could say Moose sucks eggs with the whole Tommy Dreamer thing. Yeah, but it was just a smooth promo, you know. Talks about how, Cody, you talk about grit and determination and having it hard. You grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth. You grew up in this business. I grew up around alcoholics and drunks and junkies and on the mean streets of Brooklyn. It was so smooth, man, and the match was great. There was a hardcore bump I didn't think Cody would take, and I liked that. That's actually right when I turned it on. I turned it on right before that bump, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
On the thumbtacks.
Yeah, on the thumbtack bump. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it's when Eddie Kingston started talking, I was like, I knew we were in for a treat. So I don't know too much about Eddie Kingston's full body work in wrestling. I know he's been pretty much wrestling for almost 2 decades, and I know he's pretty much wrestled all over the world for a lot of different promotions. So he definitely has like a lot of respect from his peers just for being a great worker and especially just amazing on the mic. I do, know him from a little bit for his time in TNA / Impact Wrestling. But I know him really from most recently from NWA Power. And the great thing about NWA Power, from what I've been hearing from like Billy Corgan and stuff, since they are trying to bring back in-studio wrestling, they're really trying to not only just have good wrestling inside the ring, but they're really trying to set up strong promo talkers, strong personalities, guys and gals who can deliver great promos on the microphone and just really sell it to the fans who they are and who their gimmick was. And so with that being said, when NWA Power launched, Eddie Kingston was one of the standouts of just one of these amazing talkers for weeks on end of watching NWA Power. He'll come out, do a match, cut a promo or interview at some point. It's just, he's an amazing speaker. So nonetheless, when I saw him come out with a mic in his hand, calling out Cody Rhodes, it was awesome. Like, I'm with you. It was a great promo, and it was awesome. And then the match itself, very hard hitting. It was a no DQ. And yes, you said the hardcore spot with the thumbtacks. Like, I thought Eddie Kingston was going to land in it just because it's like, come on, Cody, the golden boy, he's not going to do it. But he got flipped onto it. I was shocked when he did it. I was like, oh my God, Cody. Like, I think Cody loves pain. Like, let's be real. I know Cody, great looking guy. He's the face of AEW. He likes wearing suits, good clothes. He really loves doing all the media stuff. But at the same time, he puts his body on the line. We've seen it already in AEW's existence, between busting his head open with Sean Spears, and also that dive against, was it Chris Jericho? And
and when the moonsault off the cage with Wardlow, when it like busted his toe.
Yeah, and then even his match with his brother last year, Double or Nothing. It's Cody. He puts his body on his line, and he's always loves getting cut up and showing some color and bleeding, and then so taking this hardcore spot in the thumbtacks, I was like, God, I love Cody for that. Just the sacrifices he literally makes for this promotion. And then early on, we saw Eddie Kingston get his knee hurt or busted up, and he was limping. There was one part in the match where he was walking outside and he was walking kind of normal. I was like, oh, dude, like, snap back into it. Like, you gotta keep selling the knee injury. But other than that, he was selling the knee injury a lot throughout the match, and that led to the finish of Cody putting on the figure 4 leg lock, and Eddie Kingston submitted, tapped out. So I was like, that's cool. Good storytelling right there as far as Cody working on the knee throughout the match, and that was part of the finish with the submission there. So awesome. I don't know what Eddie Kingston's status is. I know a lot of people online were tweeting and hashtagging like AEW sign Eddie Kingston. They want him in there. I don't know about you. Do you think AEW should sign him? I don't know. I'm on the fence, because if he does sign, then that's one less person on the NWA Power roster. And I love NWA.
Well, I think what could happen, they could use him until NWA actually starts running shows again. I think that's absolutely fine. I mean, hell, he doesn't have to wrestle all the time. He could be a quasi-manager like what he was doing with LAX.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to really save that thought for when we get to that Inner Circle match.
Okay. So a couple things I was just going to say was, he could probably may have a similar deal like Brian Pillman Jr. Brian Pillman Jr. is still in the contract with MLW, but MLW gave them, and we talked about this before, gave their blessing. He can work and do appearances with them until they run shows again. And then once they put on shows, then he's got to come back. So maybe, he can still do stuff with AEW for the time being. And I know Stu Bennett, a.k.a. Wade Barrett, just did an interview with Chris Van Fleet this week, and I watched it, and Chris asked Stu Bennett about what's the status of NWA Power, because Stu is the current commentary, replaced Jim Cornette, and he said Billy Corgan right out of the gates said when the pandemic starts, he's like, we're not going to do any shows until we're allowed to have a crowd again, because let's be real, their whole gimmick, NWA Power, is performing in front of a crowd in studio. And so if they don't have a crowd, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really feel right for the type of studio show that they put on. So for the time being, it looks like NWA is going to be shut down for an extended period of time until this pandemic clears up. So another reason, wash your hands, clean your ass, and wear a mask. Oh, I screwed that up. But anyway, yes, wear your mask. That way NWA Power can come back and do shows again. But with that being said, it looks like everyone that's with the NWA, they got a lot of free time right now. So hopefully this is a sign that maybe, guys like Eddie Kingston can perform in AEW for the short-term time being. So very cool. And so we'll be seeing. Hopefully we'll see more of that. And maybe, who knows, maybe they can do more of like a working agreement, NWA and AEW. I'll be all for that. Who knows? I mean, with this pandemic, there's a lot of things up in the air. So I think for the time being, let Eddie Kingston perform. We saw Ricky Stark. He's left NWA recently. Now he's signed with AEW. So who knows? Maybe we'll get more NWA people showing up at some point. So we shall wait and see, as they say. And then, so the next segment was Jon Moxley, AEW World Champion. He cut a quick promo outside wherever it was. Pretty much, it looks like, him and Brian Cage, their thing is far from over, it sounds like. Am I right, Philip?
Yeah, excuse me, absolutely, man. It was Taz threw in the towel. We didn't get a true decisive finish, so I think the next time they do go one-on-one, we will get a decisive finish. But I still don't think Cage is going to win the title, even though I want him to, who can survive the path of Cage. Because like I said previously, AEW, they went long championship runs. They don't want to do that flip-floppy stuff that happens in WWE. Yeah. They want long, successful title runs. So.
Well, I agree with that because it just adds more value to the title. It makes it much more prestige. It's like whoever has this, you're the top of that roster, that division, and it makes them look like a very credible champion that once they're champion, they're beating everyone that comes their way. And then whoever eventually does beat them, it really solidifies they deserve to be the champion because they beat the previous champion who had this long winning streak, long title reign. So it just adds more credibility to just what that title is and what it represents and what that whoever holds it, what they represent as well.
Absolutely. It's like me with the Bullet Cast title. 100%. I mean, the Royal Rumble of this year until the almost second to last week of July, that's a pretty long time, man.
Man, yeah, 2020 was your year. I feel bad now. I'm sorry.
Hey, man, like what you just said, man.
We might have to film a video. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do a photo shoot. We'll do like a social media video. We'll do all that stuff. Yeah, we'll plan it all out.
We'll do the works, ladies and gentlemen. Just look out. The Bulletcast on Instagram, Bulletcast on Twitter. Look out for the socials. You don't want to miss it.
Absolutely. And then up next was MJF coming to the ring with his buddy Wardlow and taking on Griff Garrison. And I don't know much about him. I saw Brian Zane on Wrestling with Regret talking about him, and I guess he done some work in Ring of Honor. He's also done some stuff, I guess, AEW Dark, but this was his Dynamite debut. And to be honest, MJF was making fun of him, thought he was Jungle Boy because he also has long, blonde, curly hair. I don't know about you, Philip, but I look at him, he looked like a young Chris Jericho to me.
Oh, the Corazon de Leon?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, dude. He called him, MJF called him Jungle Man.
It was cool. I was like, looking at him, I was like, this guy looks like a young Chris Jericho. Like, I hope they do a promo together or some sort of segment. Be like, you look like my son, or you look like a young me, or something. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Jericho would be like, Griff Garrison, who the hell is that?
Yes.
Do something like that. I thoroughly enjoyed this. MJF, he is that character, or it could be really him. That he's never nice to anyone. So I love it, man. He was talking crap throughout the whole match. Yeah, it was fun, man. It was different. I liked it.
And Griff Garrison kind of made fun of him and said, you did technically lose that tag match a couple weeks ago, but that set him off because he's like, I've been pinned or lost a match in a singles bout. So he started attacking him, beating him up, and all throughout it was pretty one-sided. And then eventually he made Griff say, like, pretty much had him say on the microphone, that he's undefeated. Say it. So he finally said it and let him go. But yeah, so once again, I thought that was a great segment as far as just building up MJF as one, just probably easily the top heel. I think he's the top heel in AEW. He's one of my personal favorites. And Griff Garris said, like, hey man, I really enjoy seeing these younger talents are being used for work as far as putting over, all the veterans and stuff. And so hopefully these are guys that they can keep around for a long time and can grow them into future big names for the company as well. So that's very cool. And then we jump ahead to another segment. Tony Schiavone talking to Britt Baker. We also had Rebel. Is it Rebel or is it Reba? I've heard
her name is Rebel, but yeah. When Dr. Britt Baker DMD is in attendance, it is Reba. We don't want to upset the role model, the true role model. I'm sorry, Bailey. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. But Sasha Banks, she's a role model all day. Shout out, baby girl.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was pretty much more or less Britt Baker saying she'll be back by All Out, more or less. So it's just showing like she's had nose surgery and stuff, and she had a big old bandage on her nose. So I think it's very cool. Even while, quote, injured, she's still on every week, having her presence felt. And that's the smart thing to do. So I think it depends on the person. If someone's hurt and you want them off TV for an extended period of time, that's great, because when they do come back, it has a big impact, a big surprise, all that stuff. But then for some people, I think it's great having them on every week just to keep them around as a strong presence. And especially for them, for their women's division, it just, even though she can't wrestle, at least having her on TV just reminds you she's one of the top names in the women's division.
Well, you see, here's the thing. My co-host Brandon from the Bullycast, we had this argument earlier today on the show where I'm like, she needs to, she's ready by All Out, she'll face Hikaru Shida, but he's like, no, I think she'll face Big Swole because they have that whole thing going on. And I'm like, maybe they say she'll be ready by All Out just to be safe, but if she's really ready like a few weeks earlier, have her do her thing with a Big Swole or whatever, and have her get the win, and then she moves on and faces Hikaru Shida and takes her rightful spot on the top of the AEW Women's Division and becomes the All Elite Wrestling Women's Champion.
Yes, I think, yeah, she's going to be a champion sooner than later, and I think that'd be a good move. And then that way, someone in her personal household is a champion again.
Oh yeah, because the other person in her household blew up on Pat McAfee on his radio show.
Do you think that was a work or a shoot with Adam Cole?
Listen to the Bulletcast to find out.
There you go. I think personally it was a work. I mean, come on.
Oh, no, it was a shoot, brother. Shooting from the hip.
Come on. Pat McAfee works for NXT as well. It's like, and of course, yeah. Well, anyway, they got history. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Anyway, but that's NXT talk. This is all about AEW right now. So, and then next up, we saw Brian Cage coming out with the FTW Championship to the ring with his manager Taz, and they just talked it out. I mean, I think just kind of followed more from the match from last week, and they're pretty much talking. Darby Allin comes out and wants to fight them, but as he's coming out, Ricky Starks, former NWA member of the roster, comes out and attacks Darby Allin from behind, and then two of them start beating him up. Then Jon Moxley comes out with a bat covered in barbed wire and comes to his aid, and Taz and Cage and Starks walk away. So I think obviously it's foreshadowing a tag team match in the near future. Brian Cage, Ricky Starks taking on Moxley and Darby Allin. So your thoughts, Philip, on that little segment right there?
I liked it. I'm like, okay, Brian Cage has somebody else to kind of handle the light work in Darby Allin, which was very good. I think Darby Allin and Ricky Starks, that one-on-one contest when it happens, is going to be very good.
Yeah.
Hell, you could build that to All Out. Honestly, you could. You could do something like that.
Absolutely. And also, I don't watch AEW Dark regularly. I'm sorry, people. There's just so much wrestling to keep track of. But I've been trying to catch it when I can, see our boy Will Hobbs up on there. But I guess yesterday, or this week's episode of AEW Dark, Brian Cage was on there and Ricky Starks also came on, and they attacked Darby Allin. And after they attack, they kind of give a little fist bump to one another. And we kind of saw that in one of the highlight videos on this episode of Dynamite. So it kind of looks like the two of them are forming a little bit of a bond, I don't know, a faction, a stable. I don't know, that's too big of a word. It's just the two of them, but they're definitely have a working relationship going now. So it sounds like between AEW Dark and Dynamite this week, you're starting to see the two of them start to work together on the same page, the same team. So just, I kind of dig that. It's a little bit interesting. Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, it's big guy, little guy working together. But as you mentioned, it could be a good dynamic because, future people they take on, Cage could take on the bigger guys and Stark could take on the little guys.
Absolutely. Big guy, little guy working together. Shawn and Diesel did it. This is nothing new. I'm a fan of it. And Starks, he can talk also. He's one of the one of the premier promo cutters for NWA Power.
And like he has an amazing like social media presence, all these videos he's done, video packages and promos. And that's why I was a little surprised he might be aligning himself with Brian Cage and Taz. Like what's the point? Like, because Taz is pretty much just Brian Cage's mouthpiece. So why would you need Starks? Why would he need to be with Taz when he can do his own talking? So I don't know. Maybe just feel like he needs an alliance as far as a big guy to work with as well. But Ricky Starks is fine on his own, cutting his own promo. So, I mean, this is still very fresh early on. So maybe Starks will still very much talk on his own. But nonetheless, it's be an interesting pairing to see how this plays out between the two of them.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And let's jump ahead to, there was a quick little video announcement saying AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament, the Deadly Draw. It's coming later on this summer. I don't know too much about this. I don't know, Philip, if you had time to look into this. This is not for like a tag team championship per se, is it? I mean,
I would hope not. They're fine with the 4 titles they have. And this Tag Team Cup, the Nightmare Sisters, okay, sure. Who else?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, okay, if this is just a tournament just for tag team's sake, okay, cool. But I don't think the roster is big enough yet to introduce a women's tag team championship. I think that's way too soon. Like they still got to just work on their single competitors for the division and build that up and just build up a lot of credible competitors and just make that roster a lot stronger. So, and just build up a lot of credible forces that could, go for the championship. So, I think it's very much a premature thought. So I'm just thinking, what's the point of this tournament then? Like,
absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Is it just bragging rights? I mean, very much how.
It's like MJF and that Dynamite dozen ring. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. He just uses it as a device now just to take out people when the ref's not looking. But I would think whoever eventually wins this AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament, like, what does it get them? What's the point if there's no tag titles created? Is it just bragging rights at that point? So I don't know. I think it's just a little bit of a interesting idea. So maybe it's just a way to kind of fill up time for some of the female competitors. I'm not quite sure. So we'll get into that more once we learn more about that. And next up, probably one of my favorite matches from the night. It was the Young Bucks taking on the Butcher and the Blade in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And this match starts with the Young Bucks walking to the kitchen, and you see the Butcher and the Blade chopping up some big pieces of beef on the table. They stop, wash their hands, and they started to the fight, and this match was insane. Very entertaining, all over the place in the backstage area of it's Daly's place, right? That's the venue.
Yeah.
So going all over, and dude, I love it. Just a lot of bodies being thrown around, super kicks everywhere. Very entertaining stuff.
Oh yeah, it was. When they walked in there, I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, oh, yeah, he's a butcher. It makes sense. Of course, he's cutting meat. I like how they wash their hands. We don't want cross-contamination during the pandemic era. That was good thinking there. Not even good thinking. It's just common sense. I think the craziest spot besides the Bucks diving off of the TNT, like the entranceways.
Yeah.
The Blade, he went for that tope con hilo and like smacked his face against the table when one of the Bucks moved out of the way. I was like, oh my God, like he has to be concussed.
And there was the little bit of the botch, right? When the Blade jumped over the ropes and completely missed the table. That's what
Yeah, that was it. Like part of his head like smacked the table.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, he's concussed. Like, Jesus Christ.
And the Butcher, I'm really starting to dig the Butcher. I mean, I'm a big fan of his work in music with this band Every Time I Die, but just him as a wrestler, dude, I love his size, and he just does these big, powerful moves and throwing the Young Bucks in the table. It was very cool stuff.
He's a big old burglar boy.
Yeah, awesome. And it was just, like I said, this match was kind of like in two segments. So the first half was, like I said, all over in the backstage area. They're like going all around, using all these different props, throwing people into like big trucks, and at one point the Blade was super kick knocked out and started going up the escalator. I just love all that, the visual side of things. That was very cool. And then they come back into, the main area with the ring, and we see all those other spots, as you mentioned, the second half of the match with the tables and whatnot. But that finish, awesome, as far as Matt and Nick Jackson at the same time jumping off the entrance ramps or tunnels, I should say, onto Butcher and Blade, who were laid out on the tables, and they both land at the same time, and the ref just does the 1, 2, 3, and they got the victory there. So great match. Butcher and Blade look badass. I know the Young Bucks, I think, were praising them on social media afterwards and saying Butcher and Blade, for like a fairly new tag team, or I think in many ways kind of still unknown to maybe the large wrestling universe out there, it shows that they can hang with the best tag team division in all pro wrestling. So even in defeat, they still look very strong, and they've started to win me over a lot. I'm really digging everything Butcher and Blade represent, just, from the music standpoint, all that good stuff. So very cool. And then, let's see, what else happened on, So next we see Alex Marvez backstage doing, I think what his role now is kind of more of a backstage interview. I think that fits him a lot better than, remember when he originally started out, AEW, he was kind of doing the broadcast table stuff.
Oh yes, how could I forget?
It's I'm glad they found a role for him, because I know he's friends with the Khan family and all that stuff. So this role as a backstage interviewer, very good for him. Keeps him use him in small increments, and we see him in this backstage interview segment. He finds Lance Archer and Jake the Snake Roberts, and they're talking, and all of a sudden, Lance Archer drags Marvez to the locker room, and then Lance Archer just starts beating the living hell out of a bunch of guys in the locker room. Threw one guy through the ceiling, threw another one in the garbage can, and I mean, Philip, I love this, because it's just, once again, just showing how dominant Lance Archer is, and just reestablishing him as a monster. Am I right?
Bro, it was something out of WWE 2K20 where you're having like a locker room brawl. He threw Homeboy up, and his head hit the ceiling panel, and then the dude he was throwing around looked like Drake Maverick. threw him in the garbage can. I'm like, Jesus, that's I just laughed. I just laughed at all of it.
Well, and that's the thing is, and listen, I know a lot of people have criticized AEW as far as in recent time, they sign all these quote big monster guys, as far as, Brian Cage, Lance Archer, Brody Lee, even Jake Hager, if you want to include him in that conversation. They bring them in, they have them like in these initial like squash matches just to show their dominance, that they're just big, powerful guys. They can beat up everyone thrown at them. And then when they get into an actual big program, like a main event type program, they end up losing to someone. And so a lot of people get mad. It's like, wait, you build them up as this dominant force, and then the second they're put on a big stage, they lose that match. And so it's kind of BS. So people criticize AEW like they don't know how to book monsters properly. I say to that, they're heels. That's their job. You build them up as a dominant force, and then eventually you use them to help put over your babyface, either your champion or someone that's going to be a champion pretty soon. I mean, I think that's proper storytelling in many ways. Like, do you want these monster heels to go on a continuous rampage for endless time and just take out all the baby faces? Then what does that leave you? You're going to have a bunch of baby faces who don't look that very intimidating.
Absolutely, man. You know, some of the best big men in the history of this business didn't reach the upper echelon. I mean, they were in main event storylines. Like King Kong Bundy didn't win the world title. Andre the Giant, probably the greatest big man in the history of this business, WWE champion for 44 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a certain role for big men. This is the reason why Braun Strowman didn't win a title until, you know, like this year. Yeah. There's a certain role for big men in the business.
Absolutely. Very well said. And that's the thing is, I hate to say it, like, not all these big monster guys are going to be champions. And like I said, they're heels. Their job is to help put the babyface over. So you got to build them up first, create the storyline, show them that there's these unstoppable forces. And then when your babyface champion, whoever beats them, it just, if anything, solidifies why these babyface champions are just as dominant and important person for you guys to cheer on. They take out the bad guys for you.
And another thing, like, a big guy wins the title. All right, who's beating him? I don't see him doing it. Yeah. Really, that guy did it? I don't believe that. You've ruined him. They're gonna say it either way.
And that's the issue. I mean, listen, we've all know you can't please every single wrestling fan. Every wrestling fan's a critic. They think they know how to write this stuff better than the current people who are booking things. For me, I just try to take things for face value, watch it for what it is, and then critique it afterwards with you every week. So it's just, you know, I mean, like I said, not everyone in pro wrestling is going to be a winner all the time or have these long winning streaks and whatnot. Some people, you build them up and then eventually they're going to have to lose to help put over someone else and solidify someone else's place as the top person. And so I think with Lance Archer, when he came on the scene with AEW, he went on this dominant streak, and then eventually, he lost to Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes could win the TNT Championship, and that's what his role was. Then he was off TV for a minute. Now he's back, and now you reestablish him, and I'm sure eventually he's going to get into another program with another babyface, and then who knows, maybe he'll win that particular storyline or program, and then can go on and continue on his winning streak. So who knows? But like I said, I don't think AEW necessarily has a big man issue. It's just, they're just doing their jobs for the greater good of the company. So, harumph. And then, next up was a women's match. We had Diamante taking on Ivelisse. And so, Philip, I think you said you had some thoughts on this one, if I remember correctly.
Well, as we say on the Bullet Cast, nobody got hurt. That's all we can ask for. Listen, guys, Ivelisse, I knew who she was, Lucha Underground, and she was on that season of Tough Enough with AJ Kirsch, Bay Area native. Yeah, man, it was just Diamante. I don't know who she is. Never seen her work until now. Probably never want to see it again. Yeah, man, it just wasn't good. Took me out of it. Brought a low point to AEW. I mean, Dynamite that night, and I really kind of stopped paying attention when this match was on. I'm sorry.
It's interesting. So Diamante, I believe last time she was on was earlier this year, I think before the pandemic. And then Ivelisse, I think she was in the Battle Royal at All Out. So it's interesting how some of these competitors who will show up again, but it's been like a very long time since they've been around. So I don't know if they actually have like long-term deals with AEW, or is it more of like a one-off type appearance thing? I mean, I'm glad to see them there if this will help kind of reinforce and add more bodies to the women's division. And as you said, Ivelisse, she definitely has a body of work as far as her stuff with Lucha Underground and other promotions, even NXT back in the day. I will, if I remember correctly, Ivelisse, does she have a little bit of an attitude problem? I don't want to speak out of term if it's
no, that's Tessa Blanchard.
Yes. But I know Ivelisse, if and please, email me if I'm wrong, but I think, she's had some stuff in the past. I know like she sued Lucha Underground because she was trying to get out of the contract and stuff, back in last year. And
I didn't know all that.
Yeah. I mean, Lucha Underground, they weren't like announcing another season or not. So a lot of people in the contract couldn't go wrestle for other promotions and make money. And it sucked because Lucha Underground was kind of dragging their feet on what their future was. And a lot of these people are stuck in limbo. And so finally they sued Lucha Underground. It's like, we want out of our contract so we can go work elsewhere. And she was one of those people. And so, person I don't want to say, but Joey Ryan was also on that lawsuit. Thunder Rosa as well. So there was a handful of Lucha Underground people suing the promotion to get out of their contracts so they can go work elsewhere. And then sure enough, Lucha Underground just ended up folding and canceling. So everyone got out of their contract to move on. So Ivelisse was one of them. And Diamante, so I don't know. To see both of them, I thought there were moments where it was very hard hitting. They were trying to show their athleticism. For me, maybe it's just a little bit of rust because they haven't wrestled much because of this pandemic. I'm trying to be optimistic and think if AEW can kind of keep them around, like I said, kind of add more bodies to the women's division and just kind of create more fresh matchups for the women's division, I'm all for that. So for one match, I'll save my judgment and kind of see how this plays out, and hopefully maybe they can keep around a little bit longer and use them more often for future matches. And next up was Hangman Adam Page taking on number 5 from the Dark Order. And the match itself, Philip, I thought, it was decent. It was just good to see Hangman Page go out there and do a singles match. We haven't seen that much lately because, he's been working tag team matches with his partner Kenny Omega. They are tag team champions for AEW. But it was an interesting match. I don't know if you have anything particular you want to add for the match itself. They did their thing.
This match with 5 shouldn't have even gone 5 minutes. You feel me?
Yeah.
It just, he didn't even beat him with his finish. He beat him with a power bomb. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It was what it was. But the match isn't really what people are talking about. It's what happened after.
Yeah. So towards the end of the match, yeah, you're right. First off, it should have been more of a squash, I thought, with Hangman winning. But towards the end, we see the Dark Order come out. We see Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno. I was going to say Uno Dos Tres, but Evil Uno and the other members of the Dark Order come out. And they pretty much were they trying to recruit Hangman Adam Page? Is this, it's kind of interesting. Is this kind of set up like Brody Lee trying to get Hangman Page to join the Dark Order? Or, he said Dark Order can protect them or protect him. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting the direction that they're going here with this.
Yes, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're feeling lost, please join darkorder.com. Do it now. I think it's basically what it was. Mr. Brody Lee said that he doesn't like Hangman Page's lack in friendship, especially with his tag team partner. And Hangman said he didn't want to join a cult. I'm glad somebody finally admitted it's a cult here. But the whole thing with cults, they don't want to say it's a cult. They're like, no, it's a movement. It's a revolution. It's a certain way of life.
Yeah,
that's how they book it. But Brody Lee said you made a big mistake, and he and Mr. Cabana walk away, and all the minions come in the ring, and then you see FTR, and hella later comes Kenny Omega.
I love FTR comes. They literally throw the styrofoam cooler and with all the beer, and it smashes in the ice, and beer goes everywhere. So it's interesting. I guess I like how the Dark Order are going around trying to recruit more people for their movement. But as you say, yeah, it's just a cult. And I thought this made Hangman Adam Page look pretty good as far as trying to take out all the minions, and then FTR come out. But I think more it's just the Dark Order just being used as a device to kind of add more tension between Hangman and Kenny Omega and FTR. And so they're more used in the background because after Kenny Omega, FTR come to rescue Hangman Page, Dark Order walks away, and FTR and Hangman are kind of celebrating, sharing a beer, and then Kenny Omega, who's late to the party to begin with, to save Hangman, he's trying to extend his hand, almost like a handshake, but FTR kind of ignores it and walks away. So it's interesting, FTR were to come to his rescue first, then Kenny Omega was later. You would think Kenny Omega should have been out there first to save his tag team partner. So that can easily add more tension. Hangman can be or even FTR can be telling Hangman, dude, what's up with Kenny Omega? He didn't come out there right away to save you. We did. We beat him out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how FTR can be used to kind of maybe divide this generation's mega powers, maybe, if you want to call it that, as far as Hangman Page and Kenny Omega.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what's happening, FTR is trying to get in the head of Hangman Adam Page so that we possibly will get FTR versus Omega and Page at All Out, and so that there's quite a bit of dissension between the two gentlemen, and it could cost them the tag team titles. And FTR, Forever the Revival, whatever their name is, they can ride off into the sunset chugging some beers with the All Elite Wrestling Tag Team Championships.
Or maybe, I think we talked about this before, maybe FTR will try to break up Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and then Hangman joins them for their Four Horsemen stable that the rumors keep going out there. Who knows? I'm just, like, I think we talked about this before. Like, I kind of want to see this whole tension. It's been very much a slow burn, and I want to see this play out sooner than later. But then again, I'm trying to be patient and figure the payoff is going to be good. So I just got to be patient and wait for it. It's going to happen eventually, but we just got to wait it out. Like, I don't want to rush into it. I guess we're just so used to WWE and how they book things so quickly. Like, every couple of weeks, something else is always changing, versus how, we grew up back in the day where these storylines take a little bit longer to breathe and take place over the span of a few months versus a couple of weeks. So I'm trying to be patient here. I'm predicting something's going to happen, but as far as it's going to be a little bit later than sooner. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And yeah, I can easily see FTR maybe gets the title belts off Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I still like the idea. I think you said before, like, if Kenny Omega and Hangman Page break up, Kenny Omega maybe should be the one to go heel, and then Hangman can start like a really big babyface run. And even we kind of saw it here. He did his best trying to take out the Dark Order by himself before he got outnumbered. So I think they're still slowly trying to lay the foundation that Hangman can be a badass babyface on his own, like a lone wolf, like a total badass on his own. So all this, it's a lot of storylines going on. And this segment here was a lot of storyline segments going on at the same time. So, like I said, I just got to keep telling myself, be patient and take our time. And I'm sure there's going to be a very fun, big payoff that we all can enjoy. But I think they even said it was a Dark Order next week taking on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. So, well, look forward to that, see how that goes. And last but not least was the main event. It was 2/3 of Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, taking on Chris Jericho and Jake Hager with Santana Ortiz in their corner for the match. Match itself, from what I saw, it looked like Luchasaurus. I feel like a Jurassic Express match. It's usually either Marco Stunt or Jungle Boy getting beat up the majority of the time. Luchasaurus is in the corner just waiting, and his job is just to get that hot tag, come running in, and do his destruction.
Yeah, that's basically every little man, big man tag team. I mean, that's what Enzo and Cass, that's what made it work for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, the match was fine. It was nice to see our friend Chris Jericho get the win. I mean, jumping Jack Perry, the double DDT to the Big Hurt and Le Champion, all that good stuff. But Luchasaurus, I'm still just he knows how to use his body, but it doesn't look like he does because of his massive size. But all in all, the Inner Circle, they got the job done.
Yeah, so I guess I still see huge potential for Jack Perry, Jungle Boy, Jack, wherever they're calling him now. I'm used to Jungle Boy. That's what he was called here in the Bay Area, either APW or Pro Wrestling Revolution. But yeah, so Jungle Boy was taking a beating, and like, I'm watching this and like I feel sympathy towards him. So I could totally see I think they really are going to try to build him up as the next big star for AEW. Maybe a year from now, whatever it may be, but they're really solidifying him as someone who could take a beating, but then will come back, overcome the odds, have a big spot. Like, he had a big outside move, took him out outside. He has these high flying moments. So Jungle Boy, like I said, I think they have big hopes for him and big plans for him throughout the next year. So that's someone to keep your eye out for. And I'm excited for. He's an awesome dude, and he's a hard worker, and he deserves everything he gets. But so they get the victory here, and out from the crowd, we see, actually, we also saw Matt Hardy. Before I forget, we saw Matt Hardy just sitting out in the seats, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. What do you think that symbolizes with him hanging out watching?
He didn't have anything to do that week.
He's like, it was like what was private party not around to hang out with, so he was just like trying to keep busy, do some scouting. Very much like Tully Blanchard.
Private party. They were embraced in that vodka cranberry.
Absolutely.
You know it's not water in those cups, yes sir.
Absolutely. And so we see was it Serpentic? Oh my god! Now I'm botching the name. Serpentic. Oh my god! How you say it? The guy with the mask.
I didn't even know there was a name. The guy with the mask turned out to be Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
He made his return to AEW. Honest to God, I didn't even put that together. I didn't even think it would be him.
Serpentico. I think I'm saying it right. Serpentico. For everyone criticized me for my botching of it. But yeah, he comes in with a bat, right, and hits the Jurassic Express. And yeah, he does like a big move off the top rope. And takes off his mask. Yeah, it's Sammy Guevara. He is back. He was gone for a month from suspension we all know about, we talked about that before already. He had some comments on a podcast from like years ago. And so they suspended him. They had a good sensitivity training, and it's been over a month now. So now he's back. So yeah, your thoughts on Sammy Guevara back with the Inner Circle?
It's fine. I mean, Brandon made the point of they could have brought him back at All Out to keep him away a little bit longer because people are going to be critical. Oh, a month punishment. That's it, really? People will say that.
Yeah.
I mean, glad to see him back. Now, sex gods can be a thing again. I love it. Yeah, man. So Inner Circle's back in his full form. But getting to the thing I said earlier on in the show with Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
He was aligned with Santana and Ortiz when they were LAX and Impact. While they've been with the Inner Circle, they've had moments like the Stadium Stampede match and stuff like that. Sure, but they haven't really done much. Maybe they start to think, man, when we were with this guy, we used to run Impact. We were the champs over there. Maybe if we align ourselves with him, we can catch some of that spark back, chase some of that former glory.
Yeah. And
then it could set up something, because I think the promos between Eddie Kingston and Jericho will be absolutely phenomenal. Ooh. And so maybe we get Jericho, Hager, and Guevara against Santana, Ortiz, and Kingston.
Wow.
Well,
dude, I love that.
I think that'd be interesting.
Dude, you should be booking for AEW right now. I love that.
I'll talk to TK. I'll talk to TK.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. And that's the thing. Like, listen, most factions or stables don't last forever. There's always going to be a crack in the group, and someone's going to get divided, and it's going to eventually split up. And I don't know if there's a timeline in place of how long Inner Circle is going to exist. I mean, their origin was at last year's All Out, after Jericho won the AEW World Championship, and he was going around, remember, asking for a thank you. And sure enough, the first guys to actually thank him were Santana and Ortiz, and that began their partnership. And then they started adding other members, Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager, to form the Inner Circle officially. So, yeah, we're almost at a full year now of the Inner Circle being a thing. So, yeah, maybe I could totally see that. Maybe Santana and Ortiz, like, they were a dominant tag team everywhere they went around the world and other promotions. And when they signed with AEW, a lot of people were excited as far as, yes, with their signing, this proves AEW is all in, no pun intended, of their tag team division. They want to make that the best tag team division in the entire world compared to other promotions. And when they signed them, I think everyone was like, oh, they might be the early favorites to win it all. They have not won anything yet, and they've been kind of hit or miss lately as far as their booking and stuff. I mean, what was SCU was the first champion, and then Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. So there's only been 2 champions, but yeah, it's, I guess we are due for a heel tag team to win it. And I mean, I still think you and I both agree maybe FTR is going to be the next in line to eventually get it. But yeah, Santana Ortiz, their time so far, they haven't really accomplished too much. So maybe, yeah, that could be what kind of stirs up the breakdown of Inner Circle.
That's what happens when you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Not everybody gets a turn. I mean, their tag team division is stacked like a lumberjack slam at Denny's. You feel me?
Absolutely.
It's up there. It's really up there. But, you know, in wrestling, not everybody gets a turn. But Santana and Ortiz are one of the tag teams that I feel like absolutely deserves a turn. It's their time to truly shine, and the only way they can do that is with those shiny tag titles that Omega and Page have.
And that's the thing. There's so many great tag teams in AEW. I all want to see them win. Like, I love the Lucha Brothers. I want to see them eventually get the tag titles. Santana Ortiz, I want to see them win it. Who else is there? I mean, yeah, FTR, Best Friends. Okay. Well, and that's the other thing too. So yeah, we saw Sammy Guevara, Inner Circle, attack Lucha Express, and sure enough, we see Orange Cassidy coming out to the ring, and like, in many ways, he looked like a total badass, like, kind of walking slowly, mean mugging, coming down the tunnel, and then Best Friends comes out running out from behind him, and they come to the aid as well and start beating up Inner Circle. And then sure enough, Inner Circle goes running through the stands, the bleachers, and they start flipping off the camera / flipping off everyone else in the ring. And then it was immediately announced that next week on AEW Dynamite, it's going to be a 5-on-5 match. So it's going to be Jurassic Express and Orange Cassidy and Best Friends taking on the Inner Circle. So that's going to be really exciting. I'm actually looking forward to that. And that's kind of the cool thing with Inner Circle is like, okay, they're a 5-man group. So I know, like, earlier this year they were feuding with the Elite, and there was supposed to be blood and guts, but it didn't happen. And then instead we got the Stadium Stampede with Matt Hardy. So I think it's cool where you can kind of take some of these baby faces, put them there, and put them together in a group, and they can take on the Inner Circle. So next week's match should be pretty entertaining. What are your thoughts on next week's main event?
First off, Orange Cassidy, hate that guy. Hate him, absolutely. Yeah, man, I didn't even pay attention that was announced, so I'm excited for it. So it's what, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Cassidy, and Trent and Chucky?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I kind of want Marco in there, so the Big Hurt can just toss him around. That'd be great.
Marco will probably come out and just, be support, and jump around and hang out ringside.
Well, Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy are probably the most athletic gents in the match, so they're going to be doing some crazy spots, and Jericho's going to be taking bumps for guys, and he's going to throw that Judas effect when absolutely necessary to get the win. Yeah. But I think Inner Circle needs to go over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just absolutely. To maintain their dominance as a heel faction, and there's 5 guys. It's 5-on-5, so it's like, okay, out of that group, I could totally see. Like, I doubt Orange Cassidy's going to take the pin. Like, they're going to keep booking him strong. It could easily be a member of Best Friends, one of them, as a sacrificial lamb.
And here's the other thing, the last time all of the Inner Circle wrestled together, they were in the Stadium Stampede and they lost. And then if they lose this, Jericho's been putting on his Saturday Night Specials that they're the best faction of all time. And if they lose again, best faction of all time? Sorry, Chris, I don't think so.
Yeah, when it comes to actual 5-on-5 matches, they lose. So that's a good point there. So, yeah, I think if we were to bet, it'd probably be Inner Circle getting the victory next week. So we shall wait and see. But yeah, this episode of AEW Dynamite was action-packed. Like, literally, it was match after match, and then in between that, all these different segments. And that's something I think we talked about before. It's like, I miss some of the backstage segments and kind of add more character building. And we got that this week between Lance Archer, Britt Baker, and then we had a lot of great matches here. Like, dude, this was a very fun episode of AEW Dynamite. So the first one posts these pay-per-view level matches that they've had the last few weeks between Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. So they came out swinging again this week with a huge episode of AEW Dynamite. And so I think they've really been on a roll lately for the last month specifically. And here we are. They're already start building up to All Out, which is going to be 5-6 weeks. So here we're on the road to All Out now. I think that's the safe thing to say. And they crushed it this week in the ratings as well.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, on that note, let's go home. And Philip, where can the good people online, all of our fellow Kliqsters, can find you? I know you got the Bulletcast, all your personal stuff, so please inform them.
All right, so personals at Heel Antwine, HEEL Antwine, ANTWINE on Twitter and Instagram. People, Facebook, we keep telling you guys, Don't do it. I'm serious. Please. The Bulletcast on Instagram, the Bulletcast YouTube channel, Bulletcast, email us. It's Bulletcast2 is in the number 2, sweet, SWET, at gmail.com.
Sweet.
Yes, sir. At Bulletcast on Twitter. I also do another podcast, Complex Conversations, COMPLEXX. That's 2 X's, 3 people. We all know what that is. If you enjoy that, by all means, just don't associate that with my brand. Complex Conversation.
Wait, real quick, by the way, before I forget, Brandon, he says Hootie Hoo. Where does he get that from?
Oh, Hootie Hoo 420 that emails our show.
Oh, because the morning show I work on, Lamont and Tonelli at 107.7 The Bone, they used to say Hootie Hoo back in the early 90s.
Oh, well, I mean, Brandon was born in the early 90s, so that...
I gotta ask him about that. Like, so the Hootie Hoo thing, that used to be like a radio lingo thing years ago. So I don't know if Brandon realizes that. So when I hear him say that in your show, I'm like, Hootie Hoo? I'm like, my guys used to say that back in the day. So, we'll have to research more of that and break it all down.
Yeah, I read the name. I'm like, Hootie Hoo 420, and he's like, Hootie Hoo. That's just how it happened. Complex Conversations on Twitter and Instagram. We're on all podcast platforms. Bulletcast is on iHeartRadio. We have a Patreon. I need to really update that stuff. But yeah, man, thank you for having me back once again. I know I'm the all the wrestling correspondent now.
I love it.
For the In The Kliq podcast. Yes.
I love that. It shows that we're growing and, having all the different bodies and guests, or not guests, I don't want to say guests, fellow co-hosts of the show. We're all one big family here at In The Kliq. So I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey 83. Yes. Yeah.
One last thing. Diamonds are forever, and so is the microphone messiah.
I love that. No, thank you again for everything, Philip. But yeah, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey 83, and for everything at In The Kliq. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look up In The Kliq. Please follow us there and subscribe to In The Kliq on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're all over the place. Anchor, also on YouTube. Subscribe. We got all of our segments up there as well. So a little easy listening. And there's so much. And there's a lot of other great things in the works. Before you and I record tonight, I was brainstorming with our fellow comrade Richard about brainstorming some ideas I got to fill you in on as well. And we got a lot of good things coming up in the weeks to come. And before I forget, earlier today I did an interview with Michael Kingston. He's the author and creator of Headlock, an amazing pro wrestling comic book. They have a Kickstarter program that goes on for a few more days. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, go back one episode, listen to that interview with Michael Kingston. And I got a big guest coming next week on the podcast. I don't want to say because I don't want to jinx myself, but I have a big guest coming up next week. So fingers crossed it all works out. And thank you to everyone for all the support. Please rate, comment In The Kliq on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That way people know, what we're all about. Please share it with everyone. And Philip, once again, thank you so much for your help this week. I can't thank you enough for all the support and just being there for me. Appreciate it. And on that note, let's get out of here for the night. And that's the bottom line because Huey said so.